All right, what's up? What's up? What's up, everybody? We down for another live with a great subject today. Um, last week, last Saturday, I actually did a live with this UK guy, right? And basically, we were talking about the what I would call the stealing of Black American music culture. And so this topic is going to kind of deal with that as well. Let me see who's in the chat first. Let me see. Let me do this. See if my okay, JG is in. I'm going to give some shout outs to the people in the chat. Give people enough time to get in the house. And we have JG is here. H Rich is here. Okay. Um, you see the chat, Don?
I can't see it.
Okay, so JG says peace to my brother. I don't know if you
Okay.
know JG. Okay.
Yeah, JG be holding me down, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So let me see who else is going to chime in. I don't want nobody. Don't want to get started too early. Malik Bay. Malik Bay, what's up, brother?
Oh, we got the family in the building.
Robert Gunny, what's up? What's up? What's
Mm.
up, Robert Gunny from the Magnificent Seven? It's going to be a very interesting topic. I'm going to open it up for sure at the end. So, you brothers, if you want to say something, you're more than welcome. So, let me see who else is in here, and then we'll get started. Let's see. All right.
May I give a shout out?
Sure, you can. Sure, you can.
Okay, I want to shout out a brother who got in touch with me online, and he just went over this so nonchalantly, but he came up in the Bronx, and his name, first and foremost, shout out to Andre Wilson. The reason why I'm bringing up this brother because he told me that he was running with K Connection, and when I said K Connection, I said, "Wow." Now these are definitely cats that are pillars as far as hip hop, but unsung heroes. And when I say K Connection, these was cats that did shows with Cold Crush, Funky Four. They was, in that realm. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah,
But
yeah,
these
yeah.
are so I said that to say not everybody gets mentioned
Right.
in this story of hip hop. And then there are some overstatements, which we'll get to.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
So shout out to China Black and Mr. Washington. What's up to you guys? Now, I came across, well, the reason why I'm doing, let me set this up. The reason why I'm doing this particular live for two reasons. The first reason is a few weeks ago, Dr. Cologne issued an apology to me for the way the choice of words that he's been issuing out against me, right? And so I said to myself, you know what? Let me just, because actions speak louder than words. You could
Yes. Mm-hmm.
because let me see the governor from Washington D.C. He said something in reference to what Donald Trump did with Obama's with the monkey thing and putting their faces on monkeys. So the governor said, listen, an apology is only good if you have no intentions of doing the same thing again. And so I decided, let me just wait a little bit. Let me just see if his actions change. Right. And lo and behold, they haven't changed. And so I'm going to get into that a little bit later, why I think his apology doesn't hit at the right spot for me. And we're going to deal with that. But the other reason why I brought you up, Don, because after my live with the guy from the UK, I happened to tune in and see you with Dr. Cologne having this
Yes.
conversation.
Mm-hmm. And let me just chime on this.
Go ahead.
Me and Dr. Cologne, and I'm gonna say Brother Cologne for this particular reason.
Mm-hmm.
We have had many conversations, and Cologne on the phone, we correspond like you and I are corresponding.
Mm-hmm.
And there's been many subjects that we disagree on, and he's known my position from day one.
All right.
I've let it known in the chats. I let it known in the conversations. But I definitely wanted to say is, you know, when me and Cologne speak, it is, you know, a conversation where we disagree agreeably. So I
Okay.
just wanted to just put that disclaimer
Right.
up front.
Right. You know, I have no problem with disagreeing agreeably,
Yes.
but if you're not receptive to truth,
Well,
then that's
well,
the problem.
this
That's
is
the
what
problem.
we're going to touch a bit, you know, touch
Yeah.
on. Yeah.
Yeah. It's one thing to disagree in good faith because you could literally have a good reason to be in disagreement.
Yeah.
Uh, but But at the end of the day, if you have enough evidence to prove what you're saying is incorrect and you choose not to, you know, reconsider your position, then your desire to agree to disagree is in bad faith. And this is where I have a huge problem with Dr. Cone. We're going to talk about the things that you said in your back and forth with him.
But
And these are things that we covered multiple times, you know, between like people like myself, you, hip hop, or you know, a lot of guys brought good, solid information, and yet this brother will not receive it, and that's a huge problem. And so, like I said, we're going to get into that. But first, someone sent me a video,
but
and
wait,
go
before we
ahead,
get to that, let me just
go
say
ahead,
this real
go ahead,
quick.
go ahead.
What is going to happen in this conversation, and I just want to say this up front,
Mm-hmm.
I am going to discuss some of the things we've discussed in the conversations. And the reason why I feel that they can be discussed publicly, because it's nothing personal about any one of our lives or anything. It has to do with the subject matter.
Right.
So there will probably be some things, if he's watching, that's going to sting. But I think just for content and for clarity, because there's been times where we've had conversations and I gave him information
Mm-hmm.
and he flipped it. And he really gave the impression that he had the information already. So I'll get
Okay.
into that later.
Oh yeah, for sure. But back to what I was saying earlier. Yeah, someone sent me this video, and I was, to my surprise, and because I didn't expect to hear what I heard. And so let me get to that video. And for the family, I need you to hear this. And this is in reference to Brother Don Switzer. Let me find that thing right here. Let me share the screen, and let me find it here. This is it here. I'm gonna share it, and let me go real talk. All right, now I want you guys to check this out. And let me get the marker around. I guess it's probably around here. If you notice, you'll see Don Switzer's name. You After we play this, Don, you could tell me about the people who are involved and how you know these people. Okay.
Okay,
Right.
well, let me just say the brother that's on the right side of the screen is
Mm-hmm.
brother Smooth B
Mm-hmm.
from the group Nice and Smooth. Any hip hop heads know these dudes. I'll let the video speak for itself.
Okay, here we go.
In the Jets,
Yes,
all those different fire ass records that he made back in the days. But hip hop, early hip hop, you know, was always infused with a form of rock and a lot of that type of shit. Queen, We Will Rock You, all of that was a part of hip hop.
Freddie Mercury
And Cerrone, you know, all of the different groups. And so anyway, I was out here in LA. Let me tell you a little story about how I came to that.
Bring it.
Okay.
Oh,
so I'm out.
Who we got here? Who we got here?
What's up, family?
Hey, surprise!
Yeah. Yes. Oh man, bring him back. Oh man, I don't see his video. D.
Oh,
What's
for
up,
those
brother?
that are checking
Oh man, I can hear
in.
you. I can't see you, my brother. How are you, man?
Good, man. Yo, listen,
There
Joe.
you go. There you
me
go.
and this dude, me and this cat go back like pro kids, man. I mean,
yeah, better believe it.
we're talking about prehistoric hip hop.
You can't see him,
Right.
Smooth?
Right.
You
I
gotta
can see
go
him. I can see him.
Oh,
We good now.
okay,
Yeah,
making
yeah.
sure.
See, a lot of people don't know on this end. See, Smooth, since the hip hop days, man, I done got into some jazz and soul, some musician stuff, but they don't understand that I do have a history in hip hop.
Oh man.
Yeah, Don schooled me today.
This dude right here, let me tell y'all something about this brother, man. He was one of the first dope MCs that I ever witnessed in my neighborhood. You know what I'm saying?
Nice.
It's like, cats would come through, Busy Bee, because look, where we lived at, we was Townsend Avenue, 170, Walton, and that whole section of like Jerome. We was right in that section.
Right.
And so it was very real. And then you had the Sparkle, which was on Mount Eden in Jerome, and then you had the XT, and then you had the XT Garage, which
on Jerome
right,
as well.
right after 170, right between 171st and 172nd. Then you had the Cadet Corps on 170. So these spots, and then you had Taft Schoolyard. So you had the areas where
cool
exactly. So
Memory
all of the true pioneers used to be rocking in those areas, and so on my block, this man's certified legend because he could spit, and me and his younger brother, of course, and me and his younger brother, peace and blessings be upon him, Mike. That was we was running partners in school together and all of that. So the deep part about it was, a part of it. Okay, you could see Melly Mel. We was blessed that way. We could go come out our crib, walk a couple of blocks and see Melly Mel, Grandmaster Flash, Cool Herc, or DJ Flash back then. You know what I'm saying? We was breakdancing. We was definitely in it. But then once you know that, those are the ones. Those are the cats that put it down. But then you start to learn and you meet people on your block. That's what became inspiration. I got to give it up to D. D was one of my first inspirations. And there was so many.
I appreciate that, kid.
Oh, you a bad motherfucker, son. I know. Look, I saw a couple of your posts, and I know you done expanded, musically. But anybody, don't sleep. No, I'm telling you actual facts. Bars.
But listen, let me say this while I got you on the vibe line. You took it and ran with it, man. You took it and ran with it, bro.
Yeah.
That's what makes me really proud, man. So
thank you, my brother. Thank you,
man. You're doing your thing, man. Like I said, man, this is a family affair. This
what I'm saying. I'm getting like on emotional
it's hip-hop a little bit, but it's more of a family affair, man.
Family.
Listen.
Man, so good to see you, my brother.
Likewise,
this is
man.
dope. Yo, Cookie, you done did something. This is some special shit.
Listen, this is the time we need our loved ones. This is the time that I always tell people it's more about the actions. And I was blessed recently to be able to have connected with my son. And Don knows me and he knows about it. And you know about your nephew. He's been up there for a while. He's looking at some crazy time for something that it was to himself. And my point is that we need men. We need our kings. We need our men like you guys that have gone through it, came from it. And no matter what level you've been at, I don't see level.
Okay, I'm going to stop it right here because it was you got the point. Everybody heard that the brother is, he's got some serious credibility when it comes to this hip hop thing, right? And I was surprised to hear that because he like he said he's very not I want to say bashful, but he's very conservative. He's not going to boast. He's not overly boastful about what he did in the past, and that's a great thing. So this brother, he's worth listening to in terms because he was there. He was literally there, And so when it comes to this hip hop thing, we don't oftentimes have people who was there, like Khalif 9, who I had on here, DJ Khalif 9. These people are important to have a conversation with because everybody has a different perspective on what hip hop was and what was going on, who was there, who they didn't see there, and the whole nine. Brother, what do you have to say?
Well, I'll touch on a few things, man. As I was listening to this cat, number one, we've never had that type of conversation growing up. He was just a little brother from around the way. And let me just give you a little backdrop. Is the sister Joanne Cruz. I know her strictly music. They have a multi-studio, Strong Island, and they do all type of stuff on Cablevision. And we was just having a casual conversation, and she mentioned, "Oh, I'm gonna have Smooth B," and I just happened to mention that you know, oh, I came up with him. I ain't speak to him in years. So she said, oh, come on. I was expecting to just come on and just say, hey, what's up? Keep it moving. It's good speaking to you. I had no idea the brother was going to drop it like that. But I have to say a few things that's in this connection. One, if you notice, he said he was a B-boy.
Right.
And Smooth B is younger than me. And
yeah.
listen, those young cats were like a wolf pack around the way. And they were a part of the first generation of B-boys, because B-boys came, it went, and then there was the next, you know, generation that came, and we can discuss that later. What I would also like to say, and this is pertaining to Brother Cologne, the cat who did the soundtrack on the breakdown or the documentary, Microphone Prince, same thing. I don't know him as a man. And it wasn't until I saw younger pictures of him and I said, wait a minute, that was one of the little homies in the park when I was coming up. So this dude who did the soundtrack for Derek Cologne, I saw him on the cover. And if he got in front of me face to face, he knows that I shut down the park plenty of times when he was a little kid. But let me just say this. I got to give a shout out because his DJ till today is a cat named DJ Ecstasy. And to just give some content, I've known Ecstasy for probably close to over 45 years. Bad mofo as far as the DJ. And he is a Latino brother that came up with us. So the reason why I said that, because I would, you know, later on we can really have that discussion. But really, you know, we can't be on, you know, put on a guilt trip for speaking our legacy.
Right.
And that is what we are going to discuss.
That's right. They're trying to, you know.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. It's the guilt trip.
You're right. It's really getting out of hand.
Out of control.
And so let's get right into it. Like I said, you appeared with Dr. Cologne basically had a live, and he invited people to come up, and you were one of the people who came up. And so let me get that. Let me find that one. I just put what I did. I put a kind of splice some pieces together. It's not the whole thing.
I understand.
And so you could talk about each one of these pieces and give your opinion. I'm gonna give mine, and we're gonna proceed on with that. Okay.
Okay.
Let's do this. Let me share it. Find the video.
And listen, for the folks out there on YouTube, I have no idea what this brother is going to put up. So this is not rehearsed.
Right. It's not. No, it's definitely not rehearsed.
Okay.
It's definitely not rehearsed. All right. So let me find a view. Okay. So this is probably the first. Let me move it back here. Okay. So here we go.
You know, do the musicians from the Palladium and the Mambo era, did they inspire? This was the question. Did they inspire African-American musicians that would utilize the sounds in their music of the 60s and 70s from where we get the B-boy breaks? I'm paraphrasing. I'm actually want to just show it so we hear the exact question. So can I do that? Let me do that.
Yeah. I'm here.
Let me share the screen. Yeah, let me share the screen. I'm going to share. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, make sure it's up. No, right here. Okay. All right. So let me go ahead and play it. I'll it's not long. It's real short.
Yeah.
Okay. Here we go. Okay. Do the Latin sounds of the Palladium during the time of Mambo have an influence on the African-American bands that have these Latin breakdowns in their songs? Boom.
Okay, let me stop that. I think he's going to play a little bit more, but let me just let me just stop that right there. I'm going to say something real quick. The question that he posed is problematic because there's an assumption that Black Americans were listening to mambo music, and he made a reference to the b-boy anthems where there were none in the 60s and the 70s. You know, they were entitled that. So the whole question is problematic. And so Don, what do you, let me finish this out and then you could finish this up. Let me find the let's do it here.
Okay, so that was the question.
Well,
he says yes.
He says yes. So, you know, can you play what he said so I can expound on that?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Okay.
sir. Let's do that. Yeah.
Yes, they did. They did. It started really in New Orleans with Louis Armstrong and the Hot Five.
The meat and potatoes. Let's
okay. Go ahead, Don. Speak to that.
Okay. Now let's pick up where he left off, Louis Armstrong. Let's get into the actual premise of everything that this brother's been talking about, which is the Latin rhythms. He is speaking on the clave. He is speaking on the tresello. He's speaking on the habanero rhythm. Now, I know about my Black American history, and I know that these rhythms existed in Black America a century before jazz, right? But this is the beautiful thing about this and this myth. First and foremost, they're not Latin rhythms. And please, and I just want people to listen very closely. When I'm getting ready to say, don't take my word for it, because this information is easily retrievable. The clave, habanero rhythm, existed in Haiti during voodoo ceremonies in the 1700s. It existed in Jamaica. The only difference and what they all are in common is that we did not call them the habanero rhythm.
That's it.
We did not call them the clave. We did not call them the tresello. Right. Now, let's get into this myth of New Orleans being the birthplace
there you go.
of jazz.
There you go.
Okay, now see, people put out information and don't even connect the dots. Now, and again, this is information that is easily retrievable. This is not under some library where you got to dust off some book. Let me say this very clearly. Jazz was being played out through Black America. I made some notes with this, and let me put some cities, and then I will bring my point here. Kansas City, Memphis, Atlanta, Philly, Pittsburgh, Chicago, Baltimore. Oh, well, wait a minute. Let's talk about New York. Let's talk about James Reese, Europe. He predates Louis Armstrong.
Right.
He is a jazz band leader, right? A jazz band leader from Harlem. If it originated in New Orleans, how do you explain James Reese, Europe?
Right. Yeah, that whole history is kind of crazy.
But wait a minute. I didn't mean to cut you off, but let's talk about that other part. Let's talk about the multicultural history. Let me be very clear, people. America does not have any history of multiculturalism in its past. We were getting lynched. So let's talk about this story, this mythical story about New Orleans, right?
But let me cut you off for once. I don't mean to cut you off, but we got a lot to go through. So you're gonna be able to probably cover all of this.
Okay.
I got a whole lot. I got a whole lot of clips, and it'll take about 3 hours. Expound on every little thing. So, but address the New Orleans comment that in terms of where this Latin influence, this mythical belief that this Latin influence came
Oh,
through New
that
Orleans.
was
Address that one.
well, what it is that from its inception is that Europe has attempted to put its name on the evolution of jazz. Now we can get into the Dixieland. Those are the white folks that tried to do it. But if you notice, they say Latin rhythms.
Right.
They say Latin rhythms. And let's listen, we got a lot of stuff where the Cuban pioneers were strongly against calling their music Latin. So we got time.
Yeah, we got time.
Yeah.
Let me play another clip. Let's see. Let me go here. Let's continue it. Let's go.
Get into like the Palladium.
Okay.
Now,
so before you do that,
okay,
because this clip is so short,
right?
Let me just let it play because he mentions Louis Armstrong and Sidney Bechet.
Okay.
Let me just play that, and then I can get him off the screen, put you on full screen, and then I'm gonna let you cook.
Okay.
Fair? Okay. Let's do that. I'm gonna rewind it so we hear the whole thing.
Okay, let me just say one thing before I play this clip. Felipe Luciano is not an expert, especially in music. First, he says that Louis Armstrong, and you talked about this in the video with Cologne. He said Louis Armstrong came up with the thing about the Latin tinge or the Spanish tinge.
No.
See, here's the myth. Here's the myth with regard to the so-called Latin influence in jazz. What happened was in like 1803, I'm gonna say this real quick. After the Haitian Revolution, some Haitians went to Cuba, right? And then they stayed there a few years, and then they came to New Orleans. So when you hear people say Cubans, there were really the Haitian refugees that came. So the myth was created based off of that history. It wasn't any Cubans coming over here in New Orleans in the early 1800s. That is a lie. And so we have to understand the history. What we're really talking about is the refugees from the Haitian Revolution who came from Cuba after leaving Haiti. So I want to provide that context. So when Felipe talks about this Latin influence or it came from the Cubans, that's a flat out lie. He can't document it nowhere in history.
Well, let me just ask one question before we go on. With this Latin influence, and please use your research. Can you bring me an individual? They talk about Sidney Bechet. Now, the person who's most for is Jelly Roll Morton. He was the one who phrased the Latin tinge. Now, again, this is the guy who said he created jazz, even though Mr. Europe, James Reese Europe preceded them. So we're gonna get into that checkered past of Jelly Roll.
Right. Okay.
Oh, we're gonna get into that dude.
Okay, let's do that. Let me see. Let's start this thing.
Okay. Do the Latin sounds of the Palladium during the time of Mambo have an influence on the African American bands that have these Latin breakdowns in their songs?
Yes, they did. They did. It started really in New Orleans with Louis Armstrong and the Hot Five, with the bands that were operating in that area. Louis Armstrong says it's a Latin tinge. Had it not been for Sidney Bechet says this too. Had it not been for the Cuban musicians coming across the Gulf of Mexico, jazz would have had a different tinge. It would have been very linear. It was the Latin tinge, if you will. John Storm Roberts has a book called The Latin Tinge. It would have been very different.
Okay.
Yo, Bowser, then we got to speak on Tito.
Okay, well, I'll stop because you're going to go to another topic. I think we kind of covered that, unless you want to add something real quick before we go into this topic about influence, because this is where we talk about influence. But if you want to add something to what Felipe said, you can.
Well,
do that
we already touched on.
Okay.
As far as New Orleans, I mean, okay, we know that that's the textbook, answer. And again, we have to realize who's controlling the narrative of jazz history. Like if you go to jazz study programs throughout the universities, we're not the ones in control of the narrative.
Right.
And so that has everything to do with it, because now jazz is called American jazz. Mm-hmm. They remove the black out of it. And so we'll get into now, number one, if these rhythms, right, which can be historically proven that was throughout the Caribbeans, mm-hmm. then evidently the Cubans aren't the origins of the clave. And these are things that are just easily retrievable. So
yeah, we're gonna definitely talk about that.
Yeah,
let me go. Easy. Let's move ahead for time's sake. Let's do this. Go back and do this part here. Okay.
And getting
here we go.
Lessons from a jazz drummer.
Okay, so stop. Was Tito influenced by an African American jazz drummer? Yes or no?
Well,
yes or no?
I would say this.
No. Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, so he was. I don't disagree with that.
Right.
Were there African Americans who were inspired by Tito? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. That's all.
Mm-hmm. What do you say about that particular exchange?
Because if you're giving a yes or no, because now this is the thing. What I said in that part of the interview was, I'll give Tito I was using Tito as an example because he took jazz drumming, mm-hmm. and most cats like Cologne don't know that he was actually recycling swing with, the Latin music over back to them. But, we'll get into that later. I went into also Eddie Palmieri. These are the icons. Mm-hmm. Eddie Palmieri and his brother Charlie got piano lessons from a black woman. I forgot to write her name down, but I can easily get the name. Now, this is my question to you. Of all the qualified piano players from the Palladium, I'm putting up my fingers now. Mm-hmm. Why does she go past all of them to send her sons to a black woman? Mm. Listen, we're talking about this infamous Palladium.
Right.
We are talking about the Palladium, who supposedly they even influenced Mars. So why now, what came out of that, right? And this was the reason why this video was taken down. Mm. I won't say the reason why, but I showed them concrete proof of Eddie Palmieri's jazz background and Tito. I even sent them a video of a piece called Latin Jazz by Tito Fuentes, when he is clearly showing, not only is he showing his jazz background, but his whole band. Mm. So a couple of things came out of this. Was that I was saying, hey man, there wasn't that many Latinos in the 40s. And he was very adamant, was like, no, blah, blah, blah. But what happened was that the numbers were provided. And listen, don't take my word for it.
We're gonna definitely get into that, because I got some other stuff that's going to be interesting. We're going to definitely get into that part. Okay. So let's move ahead and see what the next part is.
That's all. This question is just.
But now let's get to the question of the beginning of the video.
Yes. My question was the B-boy anthems.
Oh yes.
So were the African Americans who were the musicians, were they inspired by this lineage that begins? Which Felipe says it begins in New Orleans, but I'm just going to the Palladium, and he says yes, they were throughout time. It's a lineage.
Okay, that's BS. I'm just call that BS, and because here's the thing, and this is what I want, Dr. Cologne, if you're listening, I need you to to really understand something. You go around acting as if Black people, Black Americans had no rhythm at all. And it was only until Latinos popped on the scene that miraculously Black people got rhythm. It's insane.
But can I just say one thing? I need to add something here, because we're talking about race, and
he's making it about race because he's saying
no.
Yeah.
I need to just put some perspective in that time. And let me say this very slowly. Mario Bauza did not speak for the primary community of Cuba. Let me say that again. Mario Bauza, all those dudes were Afro-Cuban. What represented Cuba, and the best person to say, because everyone knows his name and he's a musician, is Ricky Ricardo. People forget the white part. Excuse me, I don't want to say, the part that leaned more towards the European, like the Ricky Ricardo spoke for the massive as
the
far
masses,
as of the Cuban community. Mario Bauza and them, let's be clear, when they hooked up with them brothers in Harlem, the Ricky Ricardo camp did not welcome them in. So let we need to give some contents on it. Wasn't they, and this is another thing that I had said about Mr. Mario Bauza, what it was, and we're getting into the history, and this is in Puerto Rico, this is in Cuba, and this is in the Dominican Republic. While they're talking about this mythical time of when jazz was created, in each of those islands was a form of whitewashing going on. And that is a nice word of killing off the Afro-Latinos from all those islands. When Mario Bauza came to the United States, fair-skinned Cubans, and this is a very horrific part of Cuba's history, were lynching the darker Cubans. We are now, and like to say, as far as now, the government of the Dominican Republic did the same. They all had their form of that. So many of these Afro-Cubans assimilated. Mario Bauza actually said this, and let's put this in context. He said what he dug about Harlem in the 1930s, Brother Truth, was the freedom that Black people had in the 1930s. Now we know what our folks were going through in the 1930s. For him to say that, man.
Let's go on to the next. Let's run here. Let's see what we got here. Because, like I said, they're not really like in order. They're like pretty much like sound bites. So it's not going to sound like it's all together. Because I just grab a few things and let's go ahead.
Would have been exposed to these polyrhythms.
And I would like to answer that.
Yes, sir.
In a short answer, I would say no, and I'll explain why.
So wait,
go ahead.
When we talk about polyrhythms, we're talking about, and I know you know this because we discussed this. We're talking about the rhythms of the conga, the bongo, the timbale, the guiro, the clave. These are, first of all, iterations. Conga is an iteration of an African drum. It's not the African drum. The conga is created in the Caribbean. So, but the roots are Africa. The roots are Africa, no doubt.
Let's get into the percussions that we're talking about.
That's what.
Because it just got absorbed.
Okay, so let me just stop. Well, it stopped. I just wanted to play that little clip. Something I have to address. Now, he acts as if, again, that, and this is an interesting thing. When we had our debate, I don't know if you were around when I had the debate with Dr. Cologne like 2 or 3 years ago almost. I don't know if you were around. Let me do this. Hold up. Before I'm going to widen the screen a little bit so I can see it. So about 2.5 years ago, it's been a minute. I actually told him about the history of drumming and rhythm in America after the the drum band in 1740. Things like pat and juba, ham bone, plain spoons, washboards, tambourine, all these clapping, stomping, all these rhythmic things that we did because we didn't have access to the drum. These are ways that Black Americans were able to maintain the rhythms that they initially came with to America after the drum band. He seems to not want to acknowledge that history.
Okay, then
let me finish. So for him, it all comes from Latinos.
Okay,
and that's and so my thing is, I'm gonna finish this. I'm gonna land my plane. The thing is, if you can't grasp that concept that we always had rhythms, it didn't come from the Latinos. I even talked about the Bo Diddley beat, which is a 3/2, similar to clave. That means what that means, because we are descendants of African people, there's going to be similarities. And so we don't get everything, we don't get anything from Latinos because they were already here amongst our people, expressed in a different format. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, this is the thing. Dr. Cologne obviously has a PhD in some parts of education, and that's nothing to be, to clown or disrespect. Cultural history is not one of them. See, what you're talking is logical history that can easily be retrieved. But let me use an example that has been on more hit records than any percussion or anything out of Africa. Let's go to Motown. One of the most famous percussions, and I'll just use like Sugar Pie, Honey, but by the and they did this on countless, and you would hear that shake, 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 shake.
Mm-hmm.
That was done with a chain.
Now, right.
Now, this was done on countless Motown classics. Now, let me put it in content. Barry Gordy, when he was recording these Motown Supremes, whatever, had a state-of-the-art recording studio. Now, there was nothing in Puerto Rico, Jamaica, or Cuba that, was up to par with, because he had one of the best studios, not only in Black America, but America, period, during that time. I'm sure Barry Gordy could have easily got a shaker. We're just showing the rawness.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is the part that, let me say this again, the rawness. But then once they smooth it with the Temptations vocals and stuff like that, but that shake with the chains that's part of the Motown sound. Now,
right.
I have to bring this up. When me and Cologne was going back and forth, and I have to bring this brother up, he shares the first name of yours, Truth.
Okay, I know you're talking about.
He is supposedly educated as well. I'm bringing this up for a reason. Of course, you and I knew of our Black history pertaining the clave and these other rhythms that was within Black Americas, because we know it, we know about our history. How does this man not know that these same rhythm patterns didn't exist in Jamaica?
Mm-hmm.
Because the very patterns that he is planting his flag on is not just in those, it was throughout the Caribbean and Brazil.
Right.
The places, now, logically, we can obviously say we share the same DNA of Africa. And I said this to Cologne about those patterns. I said, and I'm paraphrasing now, I said those patterns are older than Puerto Rico, they're older than Cuba, and they're older than before Columbus came to America. I said these patterns are, and let's just go with his dream or myth that Cubans introduced us to these patterns that were already here. But let's go with his fantasy, right?
Mm-hmm.
How are you taking authorship from something from Africa?
Yeah,
and that was the part of I was just trying to bring that part of the argument. That's just like saying to you, hey, I made this recipe all by myself. You come to my house and I give you a plate of fried chicken, and I say, "Hey, man, this is, my own special recipe." No, I've been eating this all my life, and that's what.
Right.
And so I got to get to. Let me get to brother the brother Truth. He sent with glee, and it was so comical. He sent me videos of the cha-cha-cha, the cha-cha-cha, and he said, "Look, this influenced Black America." And when I looked, I said, "This fool." Excuse me. No, let me not be disrespectful.
No, yeah, I know. Yeah, right.
Yeah. I'm saying this dude don't know that the cha-cha-cha has Black American rhythms that they recycle with Cuban melodies. That is the cha-cha-cha is in 4/4. There is no history. What they did was take, not just them, but we'll talk about what happened after the Palladium, because we got time for that.
Okay, let me move on, and let's see where we got over here. Let me go back, and let's see what we got going on here. Let's do
James Brown was as big, if not bigger, than Motown.
Okay, so wait, while we're on the one, so we have a group, and I showed this video, and again, I want to give some other people. If there's some other people that want to come on, I'm going to do this one at a time. I don't want to have a bunch, but if you want to come on, just let me know. I want to come on. So but when we talk about, let's talk about the video that I put out, and it was the Temptations. Can't Get Next to You. And so we have the Funk Brothers.
Right.
We have, I forgot his name, and I don't know why I would forget his name. Who was the conga player.
Okay.
African-American brother who was the conga player. And he's playing a traditional over the one.
Okay, because first, let me stop that. Cologne is not a musician. He don't know what the hell he's talking about. And here's the thing: you can't play a traditional Latin rhythm over a traditional 2/4, a 4/4, not just a 4/4 time measure, but a funk rhythm, so to speak. That doesn't match well. We already talked about. I remember I had the clip about Sheila E. Right?
Yes.
And where she clearly explained that's impossible. You have to make adjustments in order to make it fit. Now, Cologne knows that. That's the sad thing about
I disagree with you. I disagree with you. And this
you don't think he knows that?
And I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Because now for the rest of the public, because there's some musicians in the house, we're going to speak some musical terms. But when I speak these terms, Mr. Brother Truth is going to know exactly what I'm talking about. He was talking about James Brown. And then he was talking about a song that had a backbeat. We never played music together. You know what a backbeat is.
Right.
The backbeat is to a lot of Motown stuff before James Brown came with the one. So he doesn't even know the difference between the two.
No, he doesn't. That's what I'm saying. He's not a musician. He shouldn't even be speaking on anything musical.
It is, and my point is this: since we're talking about syncopation, we got to definitely give a shout out to Clyde Stubblefield, right? But let me ask this question. Now, you and I know this, and some young folks probably don't know this, but it wasn't just Clyde Stubblefield. It was Jabo Sparks.
Right.
These break beats had two drummers. Let me say that again for the people in the back who did not hear. When we talk about polyrhythms and syncopated rhythms, that was unheard of, to have two drummers keeping the pocket, but they was doing these syncopated rhythms. And this was the part that blew my mind. He tried to say that Clyde Stubblefield had Latin influence.
I know.
And
but that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. The insincerity of his positions is almost comical. How can you say? And even in one of my videos where Clyde Stubblefield was interviewed, he said he taught himself. He's taught himself. They all come from a church background. So
yes,
they taught themselves, but because he's trying to crowbar his way.
All right, but Mr. Truth,
culture,
can you please tell the people, where does Clyde Stubblefield, his background, where he come from?
From the church.
Right, but down south.
Down south.
These dudes grew up
south.
on farms and stuff
right.
like that.
Exactly. Nobody's listening to no Latin music in the South like that.
And let's be clear. It is not to say that in a disrespectful way.
It's to be honest and tell the truth. That's what it's
right.
about.
And what I was saying was that what came out of the Palladium for Latin music, right, was a development. But, you know, we got to still bear in mind what the backdrop of Latin music was. Not Mario Bowser and Tito in them. It was the Ricky Ricardo.
Right.
Now that part just totally got like swept right out the rug, like, you know, right out the room or something like that.
You want to hear something very interesting? And you're old enough, so you remember. We were both probably introduced to what we call Latin music by I Love Lucy, right?
Right.
And also I remember an episode of The Honeymooners where there was this mambo instructor coming to the Cramden's home to teach them mambo lessons. I don't know if you remember that episode of The Honeymooners.
Well,
but I'm just showing you how it was rare to see anything about Latin music and culture when I was growing up. It was a rare thing. So to assume that Black Americans were exposed to these Latin rhythms is insane, because that's not how I grew up.
But now let me touch on that. Now let me ask a question, because this is going to really solidify what I'm getting ready to say. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in New Jersey, Newark.
Oh, good. Oh, this is going to really solidify my position. I grew up in New York.
Right.
Now, unlike yourself, and this is going to solidify what I'm getting ready to say.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in New York, and no, I heard these Latin rhythms. I'm talking about the Afro-Cubans. I didn't grow up on it, but it was around me.
Okay.
The Fania All-Stars, and I said one part of the video that like one ear was the Earth, Wind, and Fire, and I was just giving props because like I admire people like Tito Fuentes, Eddie Palmieri. Now this is just showing you what I was saying all along. We grew up New York, New Jersey, right outside of New York. We're the same age, and
that's
you
right.
did not grow up to Latin rhythms.
No, I did not.
So that's what, and what I was trying to say to Cologne during the whole interview was that the reach for Latin music was not coming across Black America.
It wasn't. It was. Let me tell you something. The only thing, and
not that it wasn't good.
No, it was excellent. But I found out about that later. But the only thing that came over Black radio when I was young in the '60s was Boogaloo. You know,
wait a minute.
Beep Beep. Songs like that. I heard those songs on like the Black radio stations, but I heard no salsa or no.
Wait a minute. Let's get into the history of Boogaloo.
Mm-hmm.
Latin music over Motown.
Of course, exactly. That's why we heard it on Black radio.
Now that's listen.
I mean, in the metropolitan area, you hardly heard that. If you didn't live in the metropolitan area of New York, you didn't even hear a Latin Boogaloo. You didn't hear that.
Listen, and this was the thing. The cats that was coming up with the Latin jazz and stuff like that hated it. They hated the Boogaloo, right?
Okay.
And I think his name, because he is like, and then to add insult to injury, a pillar of Boogaloo is a brother. I believe his name is Joe Patan. He is one like if you have like say the forefathers of Boogaloo, his name would probably be the biggest sculpture. Now, and this brother who grew up in Spanish Harlem in his interviews, he said, I was able to play Latin music, but I had that soul in me as well. And that is where the boogaloo came. See, just like if you go into the history, right? Latin jazz got birthed by jazz, right? Now, the thing about it, we know this as musicians. When he says the Palladium, I said, Mr. Cologne, after the Palladium, there was a rebellion, which turned into bebop, Charlie Parker, Coltrane, those dudes, right? And I said, not only did they not use a conga, these dudes was quartets.
Right.
That's what preceded, and I have to say, this conversation about me and Cologne. I was having a conversation about this same subject on the phone with Cologne, and he's going to get upset that I bring this up, but I have to use it for content. And I was saying, yeah, man, well, you know, after the Palladium, man, we came with rock and roll. You know, we rock and roll. And he stopped me. And he said, so Don, you're trying to tell me that black people made up rock and roll? And I paused because I thought he was jiving me.
He was serious?
Listen, I thought he was jiving me. And I said, yo, you joking, right? And he said, Don, and then like, because me and Cologne never really like yelled or we never been disrespectful on the phone.
Right.
It's always been cordial. But this is how the conversation ended. He got indignant and said, this is what I mean. You said, come on, bro. You trying to say that black people made up rock and roll and hung up the phone on me.
Wow.
Hung up the phone on me. And it wasn't until later on where I just totally blasted him. Then he said, after he probably did a little research later, oh yeah, I knew. I knew black people made up rock and roll.
Yeah. I know.
Listen, trust me, I got some stories with Mr. Cologne when it comes to the hip hop.
Okay, all right. Let me play a little bit more
information.
Let me play a little bit more here. Let me go here. We're almost finished with this, but I'm definitely going to go into something else. But we almost finished with this. Let's continue this.
That's a one beat. He's playing over the drum track. He's playing a traditional tumbao rhythm.
Okay,
that's
but
Latin rhythm.
Now,
like I said, no such thing. But let's go.
This is where I respectfully push back.
There's nothing to push back, Don. You hear it.
Cologne, you're not a musician. Shut up. Shut up, Cologne. You're not a musician. You're not a musician. You can't speak on this.
Listen, truth, ignorant is listen, in all fairness to him, he's really speaking on what he doesn't know, like this subject matter musically.
No, he doesn't. He needs to be quiet. He needs to be quiet because he doesn't know. It's embarrassing.
It is like yo, listen, he's got, if there's Latin musicians listening, they probably shaking their head, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah, let me continue this. We're almost done.
No. I am not saying I don't hear it. What I am respectfully pushing back is that rhythm, as I mentioned in my comments.
Yeah, remind me what you said. Said.
Well, what I said is that rhythm that you're talking about is older than Cuba. It's older than Puerto Rico. It's older.
African. It's African.
So yes. So to say, now we all can look at Africa as the motherland. So this is where I had pushed back on, like, well, how are we gonna say that this is a Latin rhythm that existed thousands of years ago? Thousands of years, and not only.
You're missing the point. The root, and nobody can ever deny that I've always said this. The root of these rhythms are African.
So
but
then,
when we say Latin, we're not talking about. Hold on.
Go ahead.
When we say Latin, we're not talking about Latin is in Spain or Spanish, or we're talking about the Latin rhythms that come out of places like Cuba,
right,
due to slavery. Puerto Rico, the island of Boriquen, due to slavery. Dominican Republic. Dominicans don't really, the tumbao is really played among Cubans and Puerto Ricans.
Okay.
They kept the tumbao alive. You don't hear tumbao, guaguancó. You don't hear this anywhere else, really. But quote unquote Latin music. And when I say Latin, I'm specifically talking about whether that's salsa or whether that's they incorporated those rhythms into these funk records. It's there.
No, okay. Of course, that's a big fat lie.
But
nobody's incorporating Latin rhythms. Go ahead, Don.
I just want to say all the places he named, and please, people, don't take my word for it. Take all those rhythms that he is saying right now, and all you have to do to just start the ball rolling is Google. There are libraries, books on these rhythms throughout the Caribbean. They were here in America as well. Let me say something that and this is one of his henchmen, brother Randy. I'm gonna be respectful. He would always tease about the banjo. And I'm so proud about the banjo because I'll tell you why. The origin of rhythmic guitar, most people don't know, is the banjo. So when you hear Carlos Santana doing that comes from the banjo. That has rhythmic guitar comes from us exclusively. When you hear Bob Marley, ching chick, the ching chick, the ching chick, Black American. That all of the now, the thing about it, what we did not do, he is so busy trying to crowbar his myth. Bruh, we didn't even talk about our influence on their music.
And that's what I spoke about in the debate about our influence. But let me remind him again, and those who are listening, you need to be aware of this. If you believe in the 1619 arrival of the enslaved Africans, and if you believe in the banning of the drums in 1740, what that would mean is that for at least 120 years, there was drumming in America. So what that also means is that these rhythms that were also in Cuba, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic was also in America. But what happened after the ban, these rhythms were incorporated into other means. Cologne, please get that through your thick head. And I know you heard me the first time when we had the discussion or the debate, but you refuse to acknowledge it. And so I'm getting started. There's another things I want to talk about, but I don't want to take up too much time on this part. I'm going to finish what I got to say in a moment. But let me continue, and we're just about finished. And let me
may I just make a brief point, and this is dealing with Europe and its interpretation on jazz, because remember, one of the things that they're saying is that our influence came from marching bands from New Orleans. Okay, to just really hit home that is not historically factual was how the brass came to the African Americans was what was the horns that were left after the war.
Yeah,
that is the origin of brass in the African, not New Orleans, not the marching band. We can touch on that. And we had this conversation about this era in history, because a lot of this really has to do with the erasure. Because I need to just say this point is that the reason why they came at jazz the way that they did, let's be very clear. America was dismissive. Once Europe recognized what was going on is pertaining jazz, they put up a mirror to America and said, no, not only is this music relevant, this is not on a level of Bach and Beethoven. The intellect, let me say that again. the intellect of this music surpasses classical music. So what they call jazz before they called it American jazz was America's gift to the world.
Right. Okay, let's move on. Good point. Let me go here. We're gonna get to a real good part in a minute.
Okay,
here we go.
I'm making it up.
No, this is where I will respectfully push back, because this was the inspiration. This is what came from the heartland, and this was the message behind Soul Makusa.
Okay, stop.
Go ahead.
Stop. Do you hear in Soul Makusa? Do you hear?
Oh my God!
Tumbao. Do you hear Guaguanco? Do you hear rumba? Do you hear any of those rhythms? Let me ask you a second question. In African music, the root is Africa, but do you hear those rhythms done the way New York did those rhythms, including the New York Mozambique?
You know, that's really insulting. It's really insulting. Let me finish. It's really insulting on multiple levels, because he's actually saying an African is getting rhythms from Puerto Rico or whatever, or from the Caribbean. An African where the rhythms originated. This is how, he's so eager to claim all these rhythms as a part of Latin culture. He's even disrespecting Africans.
But no, it's not disrespectful. It is, to tell you the truth, it is just number one, he really thinks in his heart that Tito Fuentes and them influenced Africans that never left the motherland.
Right.
And the story I was telling him about Soul Makusa was that you and I both know Soul Makusa impact Black America more than anything that you can put under a breakbeat. When it wasn't just played in New York. Now, I didn't know this until I seen I didn't know the story backdrop until I seen PBS, which is an excellent documentary on funk. But the African brother was actually paying homage to Black America for what we was bringing them with the James Brown. And listen, these brothers know, like, they know when they heard James Brown was huge in Africa.
Right.
Let me say that again. James Brown was huge in Africa.
Right.
And this is another thing where when we talk about these things, we are acting better than or whatever, is that our music, let me say that again, our music was touching the globe. Let's just say,
hold up for 1 second. Just 1 second. I just want to say that I'm going to speak to. I see something in the chat I want to address. I think it's Alpha Omega 720. Put in the chat the question that you asked Google that Cologne is right about. Okay. I'm curious to see what
I am too.
What Google said that Cologne was right about, because far as where from where I sit, Cologne is not right about anything as far as what I'm showing in this particular video. So do me a favor, Alpha Omega, type in the chat what you ask AI. All right. Okay, go ahead, Don.
Yeah, well, the thing that I wanted to just speak on a few things. When white folks started taking over, right? When white folks started taking over rock and roll, and not to like bounce on low, but this is just showing you the pattern that Europe was, and I'm really talking about the Beatles. I'm talking about the Rolling Stones, the Who, and how they like ran through America. And during their time, and this is what I want to say, and this is with, and I'll use Mick Jagger, I will use Mr. Felipe, and I'll use Kool Herc. when you're closer to the culture, you will speak more from your heart. Now, as you get older, sometimes the story can change. Now, if you speak to Mick Jagger right now, he's not going to tell you what he said back in the day. They said, I don't understand how us, the Beatles, and the Who are so popular. Not my words. This is their words.
Mm-hmm.
All we're doing is giving you recycled Black music.
Right.
The Rolling Stones based their name off of a Muddy Waters song.
Yeah.
So the point that I was just making was that at the time, James Brown, if you remember the song James Brown for, or the album James Brown for President? This is like when, and this is what he was trying to convince me. The 14-year-old in 1960 that was listening to James Brown day in and day out, and Sly Stone, and all of these great musicians, turned to Tito Fuentes. That's what you, and the thing about it was that we were getting into Black power. Black is beautiful. We wasn't trying to go by way of the Latinos. We were going straight to Africa.
Okay, stop right there. I want to play something real quick. I want to play something because you touching on something that I really want to address. Let me stop the share here, and let me go here. I want to show this scene because this is another thing that I show time and time again. He doesn't want to acknowledge the history. He says he loves Black Americans. I remember he did a video where he was celebrating Black History Month, but he doesn't want to acknowledge the history. And so when we tell him, well, Cologne, two things could be true at the same time. Some Black Americans probably were influenced by Latinos, right? But some were influenced by Africans, too. They weren't necessarily influenced by Latinos. Two things could be true, but for him, it's Latinos, no other influence. It has.
Yeah, it's almost like a little bit of nationalism in his talk.
Right. Exactly. Let me. Oh, I messed this up. Let me do this again.
I can't wait till we get to hip hop. Woof.
Oh shoot! What did I do? Am I offline? Is everything still okay?
I'm cool. No, you.
Okay.
You still, yeah.
Let me go back. Let me see what happened here. Let me go back because right now I can't see Jack. Let me go back to Restream. See where we at. Oh my God, what's going on here?
I can see you, brother.
You can see me. You can see me. You can see me. Let me see. Let me go. Let me see. Copy. You are hosting. Let me see. I hit something. Okay, I'm back.
Yeah. Oh, you never left.
Okay.
You never left.
I hear echo now.
It may be
wrong. Track. I did something wrong. Let me see what happened here. Do you hear an echo?
No.
You don't hear an echo? Okay. All right. I'm just going to do it. Okay. I have an echo. I hit something wrong, but that's. Oh man, this is not work. This is not good. Let me see what's going. Yeah, I'm on a different. Let me see what's in live. I'm trying to figure out how to get back. I'm not on the screen where I need to be.
Okay.
So I'm trying to figure it out. Okay. Just bear with me one moment. Let's see. Okay. No. Okay. God, Jesus Christ. I'm going to have to reload some things.
Okay.
I'm going to have to reload some things, but this is crazy. What happened? All right. Let's go here. Okay, let me do this. Forgive me. Forgive me. Let's go. I don't know how to get back. Okay, YouTube.
Oh, now and I'm definitely seeing some things in the chat. Some of it.
What do you see?
This is from Jeffrey Massey.
Yeah. What do you say? Because I can't see the chat.
Well, they say that Black Americans have no. Well, that's we are the culture, and that's not being arrogant. That's just, if we listen, if we have the conversation on how we've influenced Latin music as well as Caribbean music, then we can have that conversation. We can and that goes from calypso to mento, ska, reggae. Listen, we can chop it up. This false narrative of toasting, which is nothing. Oh man, there's been a lot of bull crap thrown in the mix, and it just really has to do with erasure.
Right. So let me do this. Let me play this. Let me go back here and hit this. Wow, this is the first time that's ever happened to me where I could, let me see, African Liberation Day. Okay, let's see. Now I just want to show this, but this is important. Okay. Okay, let's do this.
And Black nationalism.
Okay, you see this? Okay. Now this is in Washington, D.C. in 1972, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the idea that people like Cologne would not acknowledge that history is insane. Because at the end of the 1960s and the 70s, let me stop it here. At the end of the 1960s and the 1970s.
Let me tell you where he's gonna scream bloody murder.
What's that?
Because they are using a conga. Right?
It doesn't matter.
I know that. I think I might have seen a timbale.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Okay. All right.
So now this is where he cries bloody murder. Now, he does not really understand the culture of Black America at that time. Mm-hmm. These folks weren't getting in touch with now let's just say this. A lot of Latin America was not trying to hear the Afro-Latino side of their culture. So let's just say that, I think all of a sudden now, they gloss over and listen, as far as the racism within Latin America, that's a conversation y'all need to have and work out with yourselves, right? But don't sit here and pretend that Mario Bowser and those cats were pushed to the forefront. No, what they did is that they hung out with the brothers and just put it this way, man. They bulldozed their way to the front because no, they wanted that Ricky. They came over here with the intent of the Ricky Ricardo stuff, not the Mario Bowser stuff.
Right.
That came, and then the fact that he said Afro-Cuban. Mm-hmm. Come on, man. Like when you really get into the story of these people, and I have to say this very quick. He had the audacity, and I say the audacity, and I'm bringing up what I know for a fact. He brought up Arthur Schomburg, right?
Right.
Arthur Schomburg, I've been to the library countless times, right? And he is trying to say he was a Puerto Rican who taught Black people. Now, he didn't know that Arthur Schomburg's mother was a freed Black woman and that his father was half Puerto Rican. And the story of Schomburg was that he asked his Puerto Rican teachers about his Black history. Puerto Rico said he didn't have any. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's how the quest began. So when people, and let me say this, because I live in New York, in the Bowery, in Spanish Harlem, there is not a mural, there is not a plaque, there is not a street sign named after this great man. And let me say this very slowly, who was part of the Harlem Renaissance.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, so let's get into the part that I really want to get into when we're talking about the apology. Now, do you hear echo by any chance? You still everything?
You're chopping up just a little bit, but you come, just a little bit.
Golly, I don't know.
Not like badly, like just like a little something, but like we're getting like 90-ish%.
No, okay.
Yeah, you cool. You
All
cool.
right, okay. I'm just trying to figure this thing out because I hit a wrong button somewhere. I'm good now.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's do this. Okay, now this is something that Cologne had put out, but he took it down, as you know how he do. So let's do that. Let's open this up. All right, so let's play this. All right.
To tell us, oh, it was only 1% of the population. Where'd you get that from? Oh, you Googled that. You Googled that. You do know they've been in Ohio. Latinos have been in Ohio for 100 years. You do know that. You do know that. Okay. Different parts of Ohio. Talking about Latinos as a whole.
So provide some context to that for the family. Provide some context to that.
Don. I can tell you why he took that down. When he said Google, I sent him Census Bureau after Census Bureau.
Mm-hmm.
During the time that he speaks of, I have to say, first of all, when I say that he's not telling the truth about the 1%, because he's not, because it wasn't 1%, it was 0.2.
Wow.
0.2%, not of Puerto Ricans, of Latinos. They didn't even make up 1% in the time that he was talking, and I just bombarded him with continuous information from the Census Bureau.
Mm-hmm.
So because like what he did is that he took what we was talking about, and he tried to say that you said, I guess he was saying, see, there were Latinos and what I was trying to just explain to him was the same thing that I said. I said funk originated, and this is not unfactual, in places that had little or no Latino presence. That's what I said. Mm-hmm. But like if you like when you look at like say James Brown and them, and when he tries to say the Latino influence, I said, okay, you can't take everything from a biopic, right? But I'll give like two quick examples. There can be more, but let's say Ray Charles, when he was growing up, he was walking around with no shoes on, like sharecroppers, and I doubt very much. And how he learned how to play was this man showed him stride piano. Okay, that's Ray Charles. James Brown did not. He had a rough childhood coming up.
Mm-hmm.
And these were dudes that came from not the South, the deep South. So this is where he gets, and this is where the delusion comes in. And I'm talking about people who did not grow up in the Bronx, and this is pertaining hip hop. Of course, someone our age, right, that grew up listening to Sly Stone, James Brown, and all these songs that you hear in early hip hop that was a part of our culture, they're like saying, what do you think, that these songs were only being played in the Bronx? Like, there were certain songs that became like, you know, break beats. But let's say, for instance, how we knew about Jimmy Castor, Just Begun, was because it was a hit on Soul Train. And I'm trying to tell Cologne, no, that was a funk song.
Right.
And he was like, no, it was a Latin this and that. I said, no, Jimmy Castor was a funk dude, like Bertha Butt Boogie, and like, we know Jimmy Castor's background. But we can get to that part later, because when you talk about early hip hop,
okay, let's move it,
and we'll get to that part.
Sure thing. Okay, here we go.
Which the video speaks to. Many pioneer musicians came out of the New York City jazz scene or played with jazz artists, significantly inspired by Black Americans. Cool.
So
who inspired the Black Americans?
He doesn't want to accept that Latinos were inspired by Black Americans.
Well, what did he say after that?
Okay.
That's all I would like to know.
Now let me go back.
No, he said who?
No, he said.
That's all I would like.
Oh no,
to
he
know.
said. Let me go back.
Who inspired the Black Americans?
Can we talk about that? Because he makes a very good. That's a very good question. Now, let me give, and this is what I mean when you don't have any knowledge on cultural history.
Mm-hmm.
I am getting, and I'm glad he brought this up, because this is the difference of the colonialism throughout America and the Caribbeans. Okay, how our music came to what it was through something evil, which was Jim Crow and segregation. Now, if people don't really understand what that is, that meant that in a nutshell, no, y'all stay over there. Now, just to add in, like something that came out of this, like the origin of the word picnic. And I'm only going to use this word just for the historical purpose. The origin of that word means pick a nigga, where they would just go on a regular, pick a Black man and lynch him, and it was a cultural event. This is the same people talking about the multicultural thing going on. This is what so the difference in Latin America, and let's just say that, for instance, so let me just answer his question, is that not, let's say, like the Spaniards had, and I'm using words that doesn't mean that they treated them any better, but they had a more inclusive colonialism. This is why, like, yes, they allowed them to play the drums, right? But if you was going to aspire to play music, you had to play classical music. This is why the Mario Bowsers and all these dudes were classically trained. So what did they do with Black folk? We had leftover brass from the war. D.D. Chandler put together, constructed what we call the drum kit.
Right.
Now, what to just show you, they left us to our own devices, and not just jazz, because they did the same thing with ragtime and Scott Joplin. They tried to rob his music.
Right.
And it was only for monetary value. So now, when you said polyrhythms, what we did that was not done in music before, rhythmic piano, rhythmic guitar.
Right.
Now, of course, we learn under 4/4 rhythm, but we play in pockets that were never in 4/4 time.
Right.
And they got a word for that. We started playing syncopated polyrhythms, what was later called swing.
Right.
What eventually evolved to swing. So
okay, let me do this. I don't want to cut you off, but I want to finish this video out because I don't want to. We're going almost getting to the 2-hour mark. I really want to cut this out.
Ooh, really? Damn.
Yeah, we're almost there. And so let me play this out, and then I want to give my commentary about this particular rant that Cologne is on. All right, let's do that.
That's all. Oh, I know the European marching bands.
Mm-hmm. See?
Xenophobia is crazy.
He knows nothing about the brass from the Civil War.
Crazy.
Right.
Listen to him.
Xenophobia.
Listen to what.
Holy moly. You guys really believe you created everything on the planet Earth. You must be God. Wow.
Yo, man, the jealousy is real.
Yeah, that's just plain jealousy. That's just plain jealousy. Because the reality is,
Lynch, hello.
Here's the reality. It is true that Black America created probably 95% of America's music. That bothers him. That clearly bothers him. And he thinks that there's something wrong with us to claim what we actually did. And he's trying to make us feel like we're the problem for believing it. You know.
Well, can I say this? Yeah. Like the part when he said the marching band, he has no idea of the instrument. So all those, and I'll say this very quick. When Felipe said we are a linear, which that was like, I don't know if he just fell out of bed and just bumped his head.
He don't know nothing about me.
Yeah, so the point that I was making, there was a part in Glory, and we had this conversation where they said we were disconnected, and they were trying to train the soldiers to walk, linear, and this was based on a true story. They had a hard time walking that because that is not part of our DNA. But the part that he has no clue on is the leftover brass instruments from the Civil War. That was the beginning of what. Listen, the trombone was not intended as a melodic instrument. Yeah. The trumpet was not intended in Europe as a melodic instrument, like the way that the melodies that Louis Armstrong and great trumpet players, that's not what the instrument was designed for. And so that is the part where this is the thing. This is a brother who has a PhD, but he got a GED. He ain't got a GED in cultural history.
That's true.
Yeah, and it's no knock. It's just, and this is the thing.
It's the reality. It's the reality. It's the truth.
Yes,
it's the truth. Let me finish this out. Okay, let's go.
Nobody denies the influences from Black American artists, but it was a two-way process. When it came to rhythms and hand drums, bongos and congas, they picked that up from Latinos. Oh, did you really just say that? Because that's what we've been saying the whole time. Let me see, is this who I think it's from? Yes. When it came to rhythms and hand drums, bongos, and congas, they picked that up from Latinos. Thank you very much. That's all we've been saying. It wasn't native to what y'all were doing.
Okay, you heard that. He just said, it wasn't native. These rhythms, he said they weren't native to what we were doing. again, pushing that whole idea that we got rhythms from them, which is a complete lie.
But I have to let me agree with him to this degree. But this is the part that is so comical, is let's just say with Latinos, like he's assuming that because Latinos, which they did, help bring like congos and percussions like that to America. But the part that he's not understanding is that when we picked up these instruments, let's say in funk,
right?
Let me be very clear. They looked past the Latinos. These young kids was trying to rock with James Brown.
Right.
So like now they sitting up. Now this is the thing. Where are these historic percussion schools? Now the thing about it is most, even in the Latin community, how you learn how to play, and this is what I was trying to explain to him. How you learn how to play is by ear, right? So I tried to give him, which was an analogy. Take a Puerto Rican kid or a Cuban kid that says, I want to learn how to play the drums, right? Not the American style, but just they pick up drums and they pick it up in Cuba, let's say 1950. But he is influenced by the music around him. So he's playing drums in the rhythmic pattern, right? That's around him. Do we take credit for that? Because he learned how to play drums in his rhythmic pattern? Like, so that was the point I was making. I said, listen, these young kids that was doing funk, I would probably say 99% of them didn't even know who Tito Fuentes was.
Right.
And that's all I was saying. And there's no knock on Tito. It's just, listen, we didn't even know who Bob Marley was when he died. Oh, I think I'm here by myself, man. But yeah. Well, I guess we're gonna wait for Brother Truth to come back. But you know, like I said, what I will say, man. Okay, there you go.
My bad. Okay.
Yeah, your show.
Okay, check this out. Let me finish this up, and then we can call it. Well, I'm gonna have people come up for a moment. I'm sure people have something to say. But let me do this. Go back. All right, let's finish this up.
I'll say this again. Prior to Chano Pozo and Dizzy Gillespie and Manteca, African-American big bands did not use the polyrhythms of congas, bongo, timbale. They did not.
Now, can I say something to
Yeah,
that?
Quickly. Go ahead.
I'll just say very quickly, they didn't use, he's absolutely right. We did not use bongos and stuff like that. The drummers of that time were using swing with the drums.
No, let me correct you on that. I'm gonna have to interject really quick, only because when I look at people like Preston Epps, right?
Okay.
Introduced to the bongos. Well, he was introduced to African drums in the 50s, right? He came out with the first original bongo rock, and then he picked up the bongos shortly thereafter. Another person we could talk about is Bobby Hall, a female percussionist out of Detroit who started banging on pots and pans. Their parents bought bongos for her. She started playing for Motown and other artists, right? And if you look at a person like King Erickson, even though he came from the Bahamas, he had a tradition of rhythms as well. He wasn't influenced by Latin music. So the point I'm making is it's a stretch to say that all percussionists were influenced by Latinos. And so he brings up this Chano Pozo and says, well, there were no percussions, no polyrhythms. That's not true, because I don't have it now. I kind of lost the picture, but anybody can look this up. There's a movie called Hell's a Poppin', And there's a scene just before they do the Lindy Hop scene, the famous Lindy Hop scene. And there's a picture of a guy playing these 3 drums, you know, with some mallets, right? This was 1941. So the idea that we didn't have a percussion culture is just insane.
But let me ask you a question, because I can't remember, his name escapes me. He was a very short drummer. He was one of the top drummers in that era, like the 1940s era. Oh man, I'm sorry, y'all. I can't remember his name right now. But actually, Tito Fuentes was influenced by this cat, like one of the top, you know, jazz drummers. But they were using stuff like wood blocks and stuff like that before. It wasn't like the point is that when all those instruments came, they did not get infused into R&B, like to say right after the 40s we went to rock and roll.
Right.
We went to rock and roll, and like the what he can probably do in rock and roll is find a few records where it was a backdrop, and this is my point. All that's been given to you, meaning your community, from the Black community, you're pointing out backdrops here, and then I don't want to minimalize anything, because once you get to a certain point of inspiration as a musician, like say Stevie Wonder or Santana and things like that, how, like Santana plays very soulfully. It would just be petty to try to say, oh, well, he owes that soulfulness to us. No, Santana is a genius in his own right. Tito Fuentes is a genius in his own. Eddie Palmieri.
Yeah, give credit to where credit is due.
That's
not
all.
Try to take everybody else's credit.
And Black youth came with the funk. Give these kids the credit.
Okay, let me stop you for now, because time is getting short, and I want to invite some people up if they want to come up. Okay. But I want to basically say this in closing this particular segment. Now, like I said earlier, I said that I found his apology a little problematic because he's still being disrespectful to Black American history. If you love Black people, Cologne, respect the history. Do not act as if we were not, that you never heard all the information that I've been putting out for years that prove that the rhythms were here in America. We can all agree that there were some Latinos who influenced Black Americans, but you have to also allow for the fact that Black Americans had rhythms and that were already in America. All right. It can't be one way. The fact that it has to be one way with you is problematic, and it shows me a disrespect for Black history. If you don't understand Black history, hit me up and I'll teach you the history of Black Americans. But now this is how I'm going to judge you, Dr. Cologne. If I ever hear you again say Black Americans, the only way American rhythm was through Latinos, your apology is worth jack. But you're an insincere person. You're a con person. You're full of propaganda, full of lies. So be respectful. If you love Black Americans and love Black people, be respectful to the history. Do not disrespect the history. Well, so, I don't know how many times I got to say this.
I will take another approach because, like I said, me and this man has spoken on the phone, and what I will say with that pertaining to history, the reason why I don't get as angry, because I just know what he's talking about is historically unfactual. Like we know most, many musicians or Black Americans know that is like the whole New Orleans, and they even put this in the Ken Burns. They put it in the Ken Burns that New Orleans was the birthplace of jazz and the yada yada yada. But then if you put you can't, how do you explain John Reese Europe?
Right.
That preceded New Orleans. So like this is not anything difficult to retrieve. All you have to do is find out the other cities in Black America that were playing jazz at the time that they said was the origin. Because what's his name? Jelly Roll. And then can we say this? Do people know what the tinge? Do they know what tinge means?
Go ahead. You can say briefly.
Tinge
means, hold up. Let me say before you say. I put the link in the chat if you guys want to come up. All right. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say tinge means like a pinch. So yeah, I'll give the floor to the chat room.
And I apologize to the chat because I realized I had a little hiccup in my system, so the chat got shut down for a moment. So I could see that. So I apologize for you guys. Probably what happened to the chat, but that's what happened. I got a hiccup, and I got to figure out what happened. So again, the chat is open. I mean, not the chat is open, but the panel is open. If you have something to say, you can certainly join in. Okay, Paul, I got one person joining in. Okay, what's up, Paul Roberts?
How you doing, True Savior? How you doing, Don Switzer and the chat?
Hey, how you doing, brother?
Great, sir. Great show as always. I got my points written down so that I can run through them without rambling. And I'm giving the view from another community. Okay. I'd like to address the idea that any Black music with congas or bongos owes itself to a Latin origin, and the idea that Black Americans learned African rhythms through people from the Latin Caribbean. I would like to dismantle that right now.
Okay, certainly. Great. Go ahead.
Thank you. First and foremost, and I hope Cologne is listening, in the late 60s and early 70s, African-style hand drumming was associated with the Black Power movement by the entire country. Pro-Blacks with dashikis, afros, people used to wear those pin buttons that said Black is beautiful, the Black fist, and really this kind of icon type image was from California. It had nothing to do with New York, Puerto Ricans. Everyone remember the Black fist in the 1968 Olympics?
Of course, iconic.
And you can see the image of the quote unquote pro-Black playing hand drums on all kinds of mainstream media, like the TV show Laugh-In, the Mod Squad, all kinds of action movies. It was like almost a cliche. They used to put it in all kinds of movies and everything. It was just well known because the civil rights and the pro-Black movement was much bigger news than anything Afro-Cuban in the United States. People saw the riots on television. They used to try and scare white people with the Black militants, and all that with the drum comes from that, and all that African. Remember Ali and Foreman in Zaire, as a whole. And I love that clip you played. I said on another channel, in 1972, Randy Jackson joined the Jackson 5 on congas at age 11, right? That wasn't Afro-Cuban. That was part of the whole Black Power vibe. I was going to talk about Bobby Hall because I just was learning about her. And she just played everything. She didn't have a tutor or have to go to Latin cowbell school because she's a musical person who just destroys and devours and recreates any kind of sound, and that's it. So mastering the congas is the least. She played with Marvin Gaye, Stevie Wonder, Bill Withers, and so forth. Now, the idea that Black Americans, I wrote it down because I get a little hot-headed. So the idea that hand drumming was learned through Latin America. First of all, everybody knew that they played drums with their hands in Africa. That's the one part of Black Americans' history that wasn't buried. You could see it in Tarzan movies in the 1930s, in the movie King Kong, in all kinds of racist postcards they used to have. That's the most common knowledge there is. And in fact, you can see in some kind of clips from Las Vegas, someone hits the conga drum and hear the white entertainer, oh, the natives are getting restless. The natives are, so the second point I wanted to make was after World War II, they had the GI Bill that gave free college tuition to white veterans, right? So there became this whole movement of anthropology with white intellectuals and world culture, because now there was air travel, seeing stuff in National Geographic from the other side of the world, like a new thing. So all of these things like mambo, and then when Harry Belafonte and Calypso was a fad in the 50s, and then Bossa Nova that no one wants to talk about, the girl from Ipanema, and they play hand drums in Bossa Nova too. Girl from Ipanema won the Grammy in 1964, That's like a whole, almost, I don't know if fetish is the right word, but like that was the buzz with the world cultures. So in that time, there was a guy named, I don't want to say it wrong, Babatunde Olatunji.
Yeah, your percussionist, drummer.
Yeah. He's from Nigeria. He moved to the States in 1950, and he released an album called Drums of Passion in 1960, and it has a song called, oh my God, Jingo Loba or something like that. It sold 5 million copies, and that spread the African music a big start in the 60s. So, it just had so little to do with anything Latin. It's ridiculous. And furthermore, mambo music was Latin musicians who grew up listening to Black American jazz on the radio and were playing their impression of the dominant culture. Okay. It's not a sacred template from Africa that you're teaching the Black Americans this long lost pattern. So I saw Akeem say something. I always hear Congo drum instead of conga drum in my mind. And, respectfully, like I've always heard Black Americans say Congo drum. I say it too. So I started looking up, like, what is this conga drum? Okay, this was people in those Caribbean islands trying to cop it. It literally means drum from the Congo region. But the reason it has an A instead of an O is that whole Spanish thing where they assign a male, female gender to every noun, like chica and chico. So it's actually filtered through that like colonial mind state just by having the A on it. But it's a wooden cylinder with a skin across the top, right? They were trying to recreate an African drum. It's a Congo for the place of Congo.
Right.
Putting the A on it is just saying it in Spanish. The name doesn't make it yours. They bought those percussion instruments in music stores. And just to wrap it up, so and no offense, y'all mostly white, you're Puerto Ricans, and you're running a big spiritual three shell game here, right? But like, you need to go find a little girl playing patty cake and tell her that she stole your rhythms before you pick the little 1 and 2 notes out of like a Black American music, which just devours everything. They have the orchestral strings in Motown. That doesn't mean that classical music influenced Motown. And the last thing I want to say is, so there's this big proximity reach that they have. And anytime a Latin is within 500 feet of a Black American, well, that's it. He caught the rhythm like COVID, right? So can somebody tell me why in the Bronx, Black Americans and Puerto Ricans been quote unquote side by side for like 60 years? And I don't know any Black Americans in the Bronx who can speak Spanish or who want to learn Spanish, right? So if they're it's like this thing, they took us from us. Everyone wants to be like us. Everyone wants to be like us. It's not true. Everyone wants to be like Black Americans, and there's global receipts for that,
Yeah, that's true.
I know Black Americans married to Latinas who don't speak a word of Spanish. You know what I mean? So like, what made you think everyone want to be you? And it's like Mr. Magoo, the way they're delusional. And lastly, Truth Savior, I hear all the time, he says, Truth Savior's from New Jersey. He doesn't know. Truth Savior's from New Jersey. He doesn't know. I didn't realize you're from Newark. That's the tri-state. That's the same radio station.
Across the bridge. Across the bridge.
Come on, that's Jersey City or Hackensack, and any of these old jams or anywhere in New York you go, you're going to find people from Newark, and Jersey City, and Hackensack. Come on, you're home, sir. I'm hitting the clouds. Great show. God bless.
All right, thank you, Robert.
All right, peace, brother.
All right, brother Lawrence, what's going on?
Hiya, Truth Savior. Lovely to speak to you, and I'm really sorry, but I don't know your friend's name here. Can I just ask for his name?
Don Schweitzer.
Don Schweitzer. I'm really sorry. It wasn't written on the stream or anything, but I'm phoning in from England, so it is a little bit late at my end here.
Oh, wow.
But
Okay.
as you know, I very much enjoyed your stream the other day, Truth Savior. I think you did a really good job. Obviously.
You watched me and Andy then?
Yeah, I was watching the Andy thing.
Oh, okay. All right.
But I did have a love. But I've just got one small question to ask here. It's nothing major. I just want to see both of your guys' opinion on it.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just wondering. So, say you take a musician such as Elvis Presley, and I would 100% agree that there would be huge, like Black American and obviously African roots in Elvis Presley's music. And I would never deny that. So what would your opinion be? Would you say that Elvis Presley's music was white music?
Well, can I say? Can I?
Go ahead.
Okay, I'll just say. Let me give a little history behind Elvis Presley. Elvis Presley really helped propel rock and roll to a wider audience because of the cultural and, if we're being honest, racial times. But the reason why Elvis had to come into play, because I have to give a little historical backdrop. What was happening was like people like Chuck Berry, Bo Diddley, and Little Richard, right, had, and I'm just being very historically honest, had white girls screaming just for their music. Now, that made people in the southern regions very uncomfortable to have a Black man having a white girl scream over his music, because we're talking about totally different racial times. But the thing that Elvis made the reach more possible was that there were people that were more comfortable with buying an Elvis Presley record, because if they bought a Little Richard record, they would have to maybe hide it under their mattress and stuff and play it when their parents wasn't around. But Elvis 100% made rock and roll a lot more accepted to the masses. So and this is what I really believe pertaining music, is that music is universal, and there are people that can play soulful music. And listen, you're calling from London, y'all got a scope on music that is beautiful, man. Meaning that you don't always view music through the lens of what we do here in America, man. So, and the contributions that y'all cats have made, to music, not to Black music, to music. It's a universal thing.
Go ahead, Lawrence.
Yeah. So I'll be honest, I don't know many examples. I know there'll be many, but I can't think of an example off the top of my head of a European, ethnically European guy getting taught from what I would consider the Black community. So I pulled out Elvis Presley, because I would agree with you that Elvis was taught from essentially the impact the Black community had on the music.
Mr. Lawrence, can I say, we can definitely say influence, because when you look at bands like the Beatles and Rolling Stones and the Who, there is nothing wrong with influence. And the beautiful thing about influence is that once you put your own creativity, like the stuff that the Beatles did and these other bands, but I'll use the Beatles, they grew as musicians. And if you're influenced, there is nothing wrong with that.
100%, 100%. But so I accept that wasn't the best example from that side. But just because I really hugely accept the huge influence that the Black community had in what Elvis did, I would never try and deny that. However, to turn the perspective on the other side, when we take a musician such as Scott Joplin, his teacher was a German guy. I think he was a German Jewish guy.
Okay.
I'm not sure, but Scott Joplin was educated for free. It would have been, I don't know, I'm guessing 1870s or something, around that, maybe a bit later, I don't know, but it would have, he was educated for free by this very generous guy that moved from Germany to America. So
that's very interesting.
Can you see the huge impact? And when you listen to Scott Joplin's piano parts, you can hear the huge impact from like romantic classical music in his thing. And I'm not suggesting that there's not a cultural impact, a cultural heritage that Scott would have had in the music. You know, he definitely brought that feel and, you know, sense of time from his cultural heritage. But can you accept that there's some form of influence from the European community?
Let me say this. Lawrence, I throughout the debate, I constantly acknowledge the influence from the Europeans. Constantly. I never once said that Black Americans did this all by themselves. Never one time. You know how far I went with that? I even said that even the genres that are attributed to Black Americans, like R&B, gospel, soul, rock and roll, I even said that those are influenced by Black or white or European influences. I've said that. So the problem, I don't have a problem with acknowledging influence. And in regards to Scott Joplin, of course, there's major European influence in the development of ragtime music. But what I was trying to explain to Andy is that if you create something new, regardless of influences, that honor goes to the person who created something new. It's not to suggest that that person, whoever their influences were, that they did not acknowledge. Of course, they're acknowledged, but they weren't in. I feel like they weren't in the woodshed cutting that wood to make this new genre. So the Black American was in the wood making a new genre, not the European. You follow what I'm saying?
But can I add to that?
Let Lawrence respond. And then
okay, no, I can I'll obviously let you respond as well. But yeah, I can accept that too. I can 100% accept that. But the one thing that I find challenging is, obviously this is in no way to take away from the horrors that were committed against specifically the Black community,
right,
in America at that time. But when I hear like big statements like there was no such thing as multiculturalism in America at that time, and because of, let's just say, horrendous actions. I don't even want to mention the words, but when I hear these statements, and I accept that multiculturalism would have been limited because of these horrendous things happening, but it was clear that there was cross-pollination.
Well, where are we in disagreement? Where are we in disagreement? I don't understand why people are having a hard time with acknowledging a creation of a different genre. I don't understand why that's difficult. And I'm not just, like I said, I'm not separating or not acknowledging. I am acknowledging it, but you can't take credit for ragtime. Europeans could say we help influence it, but they can't take credit for it because that came out of the Black American community. But that's the point that I'm making. Go ahead, Don.
I like to piggyback off of what, because I think he brought up a very good point. Like, let's just say, if and which has happened in not only Black America, it happened through the Caribbeans. There were people, and let's just say, for just the sake of all of the above, there were people who were well versed in classical music. We were saying that with a lot of the Latinos, like Mario Bowser, when he came over, he was classically trained. So we're not saying that that did not happen, but what was the beginning? And this is meaning with Scott Joplin is a good example, and I'll use an example of Carlos Santana just in a bit. What Scott Joplin also brought to his playing, which was unknown to European, was the gospel, was the stride piano. And like there's a whole history of like say even like Ray Charles, like, you know, stride piano was a part of our culture. It wasn't so much something that was popularized as far as the narrative. So this is what I wanted to say is that what made Scott Joplin such a pivotal figure was that he was able, and because like if Scott Joplin would have came out there with just regular stride piano and the things that came out of the Black community, they would have said the same things that they said about jazz, like this is crap. But because he and ragtime, yes, is a very sophisticated music, but when you get into the layers, then you can say, oh, like now as a piano player, I can hear where he's putting that gospel in there. I can hear, you know, when he's putting stride piano in there. So and he turned out to put music in the world with ragtime that didn't exist. Now I'll use a more contemporary example of Carlos Santana. And he's so contemporary. Carlos Santana has a Mexican background. That was his influence. Carlos Santana got a hold of rock and roll, right? And that was him just, you know, growing up in America, you know, early on. But then Carlos Santana became a student of jazz as well. So what came out of that beautiful stew is what Carlos Santana, now what Carlos Santana presented to the world, there is no one from Europe, Black America, or anyone else that could produce a genius. And see the thing, we can all say like, look,
Hey,
you
Don,
can learn how to play piano
Don,
go ahead.
real quick. I got a lot of people that need to come on, so let's, you know, land the plane for it so we could get.
Okay, I'll just land the plane. The thing, the point I'm trying to make is that we can all learn how to play piano. It's the same 88 keys. It's the innovation that comes behind it.
Okay, Lawrence, I'm going to let you say your last thing because I got a couple of people that want to come up. But again, before I let you speak, Lawrence, I'm putting out another video Sunday, which is going to be the recap of the debate that I had with Andy. So you check that out, and you can hit me up in the comments and tell me what you think. Okay.
And it was and listen, it was beautiful speaking with you, brother. It was beautiful speaking with you.
Well, it was absolutely wonderful speaking with both you guys, and I really appreciate you speaking so openly and honestly on these topics.
Likewise, brother.
Please, can I make one final?
Brother.
Go ahead, make one final.
Can I make one final thing? So with let's go to Carlos Santana, which was so to me, obviously I respect Carlos Santana's huge impact on music. But to me, honestly, I feel like Carlos Santana has added some Latin elements to rock and pop music.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that is kind of what my point here. So when I listen to Scott Joplin's music, I hear a guy who's added some of his personal influence to essentially Western classical music, and I hear that as the predominant genre, just as I hear blues and black music as the predominant, what became black music as the predominant influence in Carlos Santana's music. I think everything's a melting pot, but I know you guys have to get on, and you've got other callers. So it's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you guys.
Likewise.
And thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Take care. All right. Okay, Khalid, brother, go ahead.
Yeah, you can hear me, Truth?
Oh, you're kind of, your audio is little.
Yeah, the audio is
your audio is bad.
Yeah, I'll get it back to you. Hello?
Yeah, your audio is Don. Does it sound bad to you?
No, it's terrible. Like his audio.
Your audio is really bad.
Maybe you should try to chime back in. Try to restream.
Yeah, hit the link again. Okay, so let me see.
Wow, that last passage with Brother Lawrence, that was a very good talking point.
Is that me?
Let's try Khalid. Oh, is that you, Bustetto?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, good.
Go ahead, Bustetto.
Yeah.
Whoa!
The other
wait a minute.
Wait. Hold up, Bustetto. Hold up. Khalid.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it sounds
hold
better.
hold on for 1 second, Bustetto. Go ahead, Khalid.
Yeah. I was just gonna say, I kind of lost my train of thought. But when it comes to this, these rhythms and stuff, I'm not as versed as you guys are with the classifications of music. You know, I'm just an old hip hop pioneer. But I do know this much: back when we were slaves, we weren't allowed to communicate. We weren't allowed to, communicate with each other. And the way we used to communicate was we used to beat our bodies. We used to play the drums on our bodies as a form of communication back then. And that's kind of where it's kind of started with this drum thing. You understand what I'm saying, Truth?
Right, I understand. Yeah, I understand.
So, so as far as anybody influencing us, like from Latin America, I don't understand how that is even possible when we've been playing drums on, from Africa and playing drums on ourselves when we weren't even allowed to communicate. You understand what I'm saying, Truth? You understand where I'm going with this?
I hear you. Brother Khalif, hold on for 1 second. Do you hear an echo, guys?
No.
Okay,
no.
You're good. Okay, that's good. Okay, I want to hurry. I want to wrap this up real quick because it's getting late. So, Bustetto, brother, go ahead.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. You played a piece earlier. What's up, brother Don? What's up, brother?
Hey, brother. I'm glad to actually talk to, not in person, but it's good. It's good to have you on the vibe line. Absolutely, 100%.
I hear that. Good looks. Earlier, Truth, you played that piece from Cologne, and I think he was saying no African American big bands used those instruments before Channel Pozo, and I think Channel Pozo was 1947, right?
Yeah,
right at the end. I think in December. That's when Manteca was released. So,
well, I think Mario Bowser might have brought him.
Yeah, he may have.
He did. He definitely did. He definitely did earlier, a decade earlier. Like
no.
Not a decade earlier.
No.
Not a decade.
He came to the U.S. in 47, I believe, in 47.
Wait, you're saying Mario Bowser?
Channel Pozo.
Yes.
Oh, Channel Pozo. Okay. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think he was unfortunately unalive the next year.
Yeah. He was that dude. He was a street dude.
Yeah. Well, that clip that you guys played when Cologne says, no American big bands used those instruments before Channel Pozo, that's just false. That's just false. If you, I'm not sure. You don't want to play any music on your channel, right?
Oh no.
Yeah, okay. So I'll say that for my video then.
Okay.
Well, can I say this? The drummer I couldn't remember that was playing woodblocks was Chick Webb.
Yeah.
Chick Webb was playing, was incorporating, but yeah, go ahead, brother. This is your time.
Like I said, I'll save that for my video. I'll put all the tunes in there in my video. But I want to read to you this one thing. I'm gonna read this to you. This is from The World of Duke Ellington, and it's a foreword by Duke Ellington, and it's written by Stanley Dance. And Duke says here in his pretty much biography, he says, I had a kind of hand drum. We didn't call it a tom-tom, a conga, a bongo, or anything. I had a cylinder made of a kind of plastic board, and then a tambourine, and taken a tambourine and nailed it on the head after removing the tingle things, which he's talking, the little metal jingles, like when you shake a tambourine, it makes a sound.
Mm-hmm.
So the song that Ellington used this on, in that he constructed his own drum and he played it himself, is called Pyramid. And that song came out in 1938.
Mm-hmm.
So when Cologne says no American big bands ever use, we didn't even use a conga. We didn't use a bongo.
Right.
We didn't use timbale. We created our own drum
There
to
you
use.
go. That's the whole point that I've been saying from day one. We have rhythm. We created our own drums.
Create our own drum.
But you know what's crazy, y'all? We actually having a conversation about Black people and rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
This is how
that's crazy.
Bizarre.
That's crazy.
Like, yo, like we are we can probably say we're probably, if not the most rhythmic people, we at the top of the list.
Right.
We at the top of the food chain.
Of course, yeah, definitely.
Come on now, like.
Yeah, it's pretty sad.
It is bizarre. It is bizarre.
It's as if they want to say that we get our rhythm from them.
So
wait a minute.
so let me ask you a question. When Ray Charles came up with rhythm and blues, why would they call our music rhythm and blues?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that tells you right there. That's describing the music. It's rhythm and blues.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do this. Take Busetto. Take about 2 minutes. Close out with something, and then Don, you close out with something. Take 2 minutes. Close out with something, and then I'll take 2 minutes. We just close this, this live. All right. So go ahead, Busetto.
Oh gosh, put me on the spot.
Well, you don't have to say anything if you don't want to.
I mean,
just in case I'm getting ready to shut this thing down, so I want to make sure you get out what you want to get out if you want to say something.
Oh,
if not, don't worry about it.
I do. But it's like I got the. All right, I'll put it to you this way. Another band, big band that Cologne doesn't know about that actually use congas and stuff. I would go straight to Cab Calloway.
Mm-hmm.
In 1938, he had a song called Conga Conga.
Mm-hmm.
In 1937, he had a song called Congo. In 1940, he had a song called Going Conga. And in 1939, he had a song called Chili con Conga and Huelva. So all those songs use congas.
Mm-hmm.
But that's 10 years before Chano Pozo even came to the United States.
Okay. Well, I would say this. Can we not do what they do? Because see, the cool thing, I'm saying about us folks is that we give people they just do. Like if someone is cool,
yeah. Yeah. I don't mind giving people that just do, but he's saying, well, we had to wait till Chano Pozo. And I'm like, wait a minute.
Well, we know that. Listen,
that don't make no sense.
We know who Chick Webb is. I listen, I just want to say to y'all, if I blank out, it's because my computer is definitely on low.
Okay, we get ready to shut it down anyway. So go ahead and get your last, get your last words in, and then we'll shut it down. Go ahead, Don.
I'll just say real quick. It was really like the basis of this whole discussion was that these rhythms that were claimed And when I say I don't get angry at Cologne, Cologne has no music background, very little cultural history. I don't want to say to what degree, but it is easily retrievable to get these rhythms that he spoke on, the clave, tresello, the habanera, and how they were relevant in all of the Caribbeans, the Brazil, and early Black American. This is what the whole purpose of colonialism is. And I wanted to say he really opened up a very good conversation, because this subject is showing our connected DNA. Mm-hmm. Now, how is it that we all came up with these similar rhythms, but they separated us?
Right.
But somehow these rhythms in Haiti, they came up in voodoo, and they came up in Jamaica. They came up, and they came up in Cuba and Puerto Rico too. They came up. So of course, if Cologne is going to an African and trying to tell them that Channel Pozo influence, come on,
right? And
what do we?
It's pretty ridiculous.
Come on, man.
Yeah. So again, Don, I appreciate you coming up, and
I appreciate you too, brother.
Setting this information about, and I learned something about what you were doing in the Bronx back in the day.
Thank you.
Very enlightening. Now, the purpose again for doing this is basically, I want to put Cologne on notice that we're tired of it, misrepresenting the history. You've been told the history numerous times, and we just want you to respect our history as we respect Latin history.
Absolutely.
Whatever you guys did, we're willing to give you credit for, but do not try to suggest that our history isn't our history. That's what I had to deal with the guy from England. He was trying to tell me our history, and you're doing that, as well, Clone. So I would respectfully ask you to be respectful. If you know all the things that I've told you over the years, you know them to be true. You know how I know that? Because you never made a debunking video about anything that I've said. That's how I know you know the truth. Because if there was something that I said that wasn't truthful, you would have put out a debunking video. The only video that you put out was one time I misspoke about jazz musicians and Latin musicians meeting at the Palladium or whatever. And you did about 4 or 5 videos over that. So this is how I know that you're hearing my information. You know it's right, but you will not accept it. So be respectful. And this is why I won't accept your apology, because it's not sincere. The moment your attitude changes, that's the time that I will start to respect you. At this moment, I simply don't. It looked like his camera went out. So that's a good sign. So it's time for you to go. And so I'm going to end this stream again to the chat. Appreciate you guys for chiming in for this particular live. It's so important. If you haven't already, subscribe, hit the like button, and share this information. It's so, so important. Until the next time.